time for today. Just kidding.
That we do
It's
have
a
need
shared
to be part of a
identity.
social group.
Had not heard that one yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and so, I remember the SEC championship over in Atlanta, and you look around because there's so many Bulldogs around. Who's got the Alabama gear? Who are your people, right? Who's going to empathize with you during this game and care about the outcome like you do? And so there is this deep social identity involved.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
What I've always found intriguing how it translates to that individual who's so diehard and so adamant, but yet they didn't go to school here. They don't live here, but they take it so personal.
When I've asked about that, just in, people in the community, my students, and a lot of them point to the fact that we don't have a pro team here in Alabama. And so the next best thing, and of course, our kids are practically pro, the skill set that they come to the table with. But this is some event that we can coalesce around and share that identity with.
Because the South really doesn't have many pro team cities. I can only think of 3 right quickly.
Right.
But we don't have that to latch on to. So is sports just inbred in us is the competition? Is that what stimulates this?
So I think human nature is comprised of both competition and cooperation, right? You can't have just one or just the other. We'd kill off everybody if we just competed. And if we all cooperated, we'd run out of resources real fast. So there's a balance there, but they're definitely 2 sides of the same
Another interesting point. Yeah.
And if you think about what we enjoy about sports, the kind of incredible athleticism of these kids to young adults, generally speaking, men tend to hit their peak physicality in their mid to late 20s. So that's part of too why it's like a short career. So, but anyways, circling back, throughout our deep history, hunting and gathering, resource capture, that's been a huge part of our groups, what we can achieve through cooperation, but we're also competing with other groups for resources. So those skilled hunters are often in positions of a little more status, a little more prestige, although I've worked with hunter-gatherers in the past and they've had much more equitable roles. It varies by group, like everything does. Cultural identities vary. But I think a large part of why we appreciate what they're doing on the field comes from the need for survival, right? And the skills they demonstrate often do translate. If you think about throwing a football or a baseball really hard, really fast, and throwing a spear, right? And the accuracy and the need for those sort of skills.
It's like Napoleon Dynamite. Really?
Well,
we had the cast of Napoleon Dynamite last week, and Napoleon Dynamite talks about I don't have any skills. He would go out with me, and at the end he says to the girl, "I caught you a big bass." It's one of those kitschy movies, but that makes so much sense.
And you said something I found interesting, because one of the things that fans do, they forget these are 18, 19, 20-year-olds on the field. They
sure do, yes.
But they treat them like they're supposed to be perfect professionals.
Yeah, that's true.
And so they really kind of can get really mean.
Oh, I can't repeat some of the things I've heard. I'm up in the nosebleeds with the visitors.
I remember sitting on near the sideline one time, and very intense game. I think it was an Auburn, Alabama game. And then the guys playing took their helmets off. You realize these are young kids, basically.
Yeah. But
yet the fans forget, and they get so intense about it.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, a lot of it has to do, it's interesting because a lot of it has to do with how, how much we identify as a fan of that particular team, right? Because you can be a fan of sports in general.
Because that's our posse.
But that's our group. And so we're really passionate about how well they do.
And we've got their backs.
And we do.
And they've got our
backs.
Most of the time.
Sometimes Alabama fans can be fickle. But
sometimes they don't have
but they don't count. Those are just the fair weather fans.
Well, it's funny, though, because my kids in my class often talk about fair weather fans and the team. And the first game, they always come back and they're mad at this young quarterback, this 19, 20-year-old who hasn't had the game of his life in game 1, right? And they're ready to. They did it with Jalen. They did it.
They've done it with Ty.
They absolutely did. And then the next game, when the kids have their feet under them a little bit more, they're like, "Oh, I knew he could do it." And I was like, "That's not what you said last week, right?"
Sounds like a talking sports.
But it's even their peers can be quick to judge them.
Yeah. This is fascinating stuff, Sunshine.
This is fascinating stuff. We do need to go to a break. But for sure, guys, Today's guest has the answers if you ever wonder why Alabama football feels bigger than just a game. We're going to be back with Dr. Courtney Helfrich after this break. You've been listening to The Noon Show on Tide 100.1. Don't go away. We will be right back. Okay, I wanted to tell you when you said, "Hey, will you send me some questions?" Sure, but then Johnny's a really good, and I'm trying to learn. He's a really good active listener. Okay, I'm calling the first question.
I may have a comment before you get there.
I'll just go sit down there. He can't hear me when he gets his ear, but he didn't hear that last thing I just said, so you know.
Now here's Lisa and Joe.
Welcome back to the Noon Show.
Yeah, welcome back.
FM 100.9. We are having already a fascinating conversation. You don't want to miss this.
We're going to duke it out over the next question.
Actually, it's your birthday. And we are talking about, sports and all the different aspects of sports you usually don't hear about.
Right.
And so we're going to have some fun today. And this is the anthropology of sports. As soon as we heard that title, we got turned on. This is just a cool subject, and we're going to get back to Courtney in just a second. But before we do that, let us thank one of our wonderful sponsors, and that's our good friends at 1111 Greensboro.
Oh,
Avenue,
yeah.
right downtown T-Town. Hudson Pool Fine Jewelers, our great friends, and I happened to be by there this weekend, saying hello to a few folks and maybe doing a little bit of shopping.
That's where me and Courtney are going as soon as we get off the air.
Well, it's a good place to go.
That's right. It is my birthday.
Number one, it's that local, family-owned business that keeps our community so strong.
That's right.
And I tell you, Hudson Pool has been around almost 41 years, family-owned, fantastic retailer, an iconic retailer, and they do so much for our community. Plus, the service is impeccable. I walked in the other day. First thing they said, "Hey, Johnny, what you looking for today?" And I said, "Well, I really don't know." They said, "Well, let's talk about it."
Okay.
And I walked out with a package in my hand because they figured it out. That's just pretty amazing. But, folks, if you want to find that perfect gift for that special someone, or you just want to find a gift just because and make somebody smile, Hudson Pool is a place that we all go. We've been going there for 40 plus years now, and they never let you down. The service is wonderful, so personal. They treat you truly like family. And if you're looking for that perfect gift to put a smile on someone's face, go on down to see them at 1111 Greensboro Avenue, or go to their fantastic website, HudsonPool.com. That's HudsonPool.com. You find the same beautiful gifts, same beautiful service, and they'll take care. Matter of fact, when they mail it to you, it's even gift wrapped in that gorgeous wrapping paper that they use. So go see our friends at Hudson Pool. Tell them Lisa and Johnny sent you, and put a smile on somebody's face today. But
no doubt. We're going
to let you have the first
We
question.
are. Thank you.
Of course.
So we are in the studio with Dr. Courtney Helfrich from the University of Alabama. She's a professor in the Department of Anthropology. And I have at least two more burning questions I got to get to before the end of the episode. But I know how it goes. I'm dying. I'm like flipping out on the inside. Which one do I choose first? So I'm just going to go for it. So we're standing across the hall from Tide 100.9. So what I would like to know, how does sports talk radio, especially here in Tuscaloosa, where sports talk is king, and let's just be real about it. How does it act as a modern storytelling or oral tradition for the community? But more than that, so I interact with the sports talk people. I mean, they are top notch. Every single one of them are so stinking nice. They all work. We hear about 80-hour work weeks. They have so much to do. The producers, all of them. But the producers will tell you, people will call in. People will yell at them. Your predictions are wrong. That people are so emotionally invested. And then you'll have your regular callers, right? What is it about sports talk radio? And I have said over and over, it's like a soap opera. And sometimes I say for men, but that's very sexist of me. And I keep promising myself I'm just going to stop saying that.
It actually is, though.
But it is. It's a soap opera, period. Mm-hmm. We will leave it there. Why? What is it? What's the fascination?
Well, I think you actually, when talking about the storytelling, right, they have a depth of knowledge that most of us do not.
Oh, they
Even the
start-
most avid sports fans don't have.
And I
what
didn't
they have
mention
accessible.
intelligent. At the drop of a hat. I mean, they can tell you what happened in 1982 or 1995. Or
Yeah.
seriously, yeah.
And it is interesting, and it reminds me of griots, right? The guys who tell the stories. Often, this is a West African term, but they'll know generations of family histories, of parables, of stories to tell about events, and even like the Aboriginals in Africa, the Aborigines in Africa would have the oral traditions going back 40,000 years that have recently been backed up by archaeological evidence, right? And so I think part of our
I like the
like
sound
as
of
you
that.
point
Yeah.
out, the storytelling is that they do have this ability to recall and synthesize vast amounts of information in ways that the general public doesn't, right? We're not trained in that way, or we're not invested in that way. And so every culture group has folks who hold that kind of knowledge for us. And a lot of it is kind of getting robbed from us this was the concern of Plato with writing. If we start writing stuff down, we'll lose our ability to remember things. Same sort of concern with the internet and AI, right? And are we going to be capable of this creative thinking of remembering our histories anymore, especially now when things are so easily manipulated? This becomes an even greater concern. So the folks who tell what is happening honestly and effectively and with that depth of knowledge are really valuable in any
Well, they
society.
must
Go
have
to
a
the
certain amount of trust with their listeners too. Yeah.
Go to the other side of the phone, though. What is it about the callers, though? I mean, I understand the sports folks, the callers who really don't know anything,
Yeah.
but they act like they do,
Oh, well,
and they
sure, yeah.
call with all of this quote expertise.
Right.
And again, what is the motivation? What's the stimulation for the caller?
I mean, probably, as Lisa pointed out, trust, right? There's someone they can trust, but when they're calling in maybe to contradict, right? There's a performative kind of piece to that too, as a fan, right?
Yeah.
You want to be seen as an expert too, as having that knowledge, depth, and breadth. But I think just maybe validation. I honestly don't know
It
the
could
answer to
be,
that
but
one,
Johnny and I every day we do show prep in that room right
Yeah.
across the hall. And I've only been doing the show since May, just so you know. But I remember the first time Ryan Fowler, shout out, he was on the air. The passion, he gets revved up, and I remember the first time I heard him just get ramped up. I whipped my head around and I thought to myself, "Hello, kindred spirit." And then that was the very beginning. I mean, you'll see the producers jumping on the microphone. You know what I mean? They're so passionate. They're so invested.
Well, that's actually, so there's been a number of studies all around the world, but there's a fairly recent one in Europe with football, with soccer, and the passion of European sport fans.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And they
sure.
actually
Right.
show higher rates of cardiac incidents during the season because people are so
You're
emotionally
kidding.
invested.
Yeah,
It turns into a physiological.
I did not know that.
We think we're crazy. European and
Right.
South American
No.
soccer fans are
Whole other
absolutely,
level.
That
Yeah.
kind of frightens me a
they're
little bit.
bizarre.
Yeah, they're a lot.
But
You think we're a lot? They're a
Well,
lot.
I mean, that's the world sport, right? But
It is the
soccer
world
is,
sport,
is
really, yeah.
everywhere. And I've been in the Congo Basin rainforest, and kids have figured out ways to make balls.
Isn't that
That's
amazing?
that to kick a ball around is a human universal for sure.
So sports has always been part of our DNA.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about how kids learn through play, right? And a lot of those physical
Right.
activities that then turn into sports behaviors are ways we learn our bodies and our environment. So, yeah, very much so. It helps us get socialized into our community's values. And I think my kids have always played sports. I always played sports. It helps us as parents. It kind of takes the place of something called allo-parenting, which is like that shared care. Anybody
Mhm.
besides the parents helping care for kids, which is why humans have been so successful as
Yeah.
a species. We can have
Oh.
more babies because we have this sort of built-in care, but that socialization process also.
I just heard you
play.
say something really important. You said something. I think from what you're saying, like you're new to the community or what, it helps someone actually assimilate to the community.
Oh yeah, when you can,
I didn't think of it that
when
way.
you can find that common ground, and then that's kids want to go play. That's the first
Well,
thing. It's so easy for them
you're talking
to
about the
break in.
anthropology of sports. You're making an interesting point that just kind of light went off. As little bitty kids, every one of us, boys, girls, it doesn't make any difference. We kind of want to kick a ball or we want to throw a ball from the earliest age, and then we go out in the yard and we gather our friends to play kickball or
Mhm.
stickball or whatever it is you're
Yeah.
playing. And so that's the reason I'm thinking it was just inbred in us, I guess.
You find sport in pretty much every culture.
Everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the things I started last year, you may have seen it on my syllabus, was I had Michael Billy come and give a lecture on stickball.
I saw that.
And then
yeah.
we played a game on the quad. And actually, President Moeller came down to find out what was going on as the kids were learning about the history of stickball. And there's a lot of lessons in stickball, too, because the two sticks represent the mother and the father. And then
What?
the ball is the baby, and you got to protect the baby. And so it's one of the ways they teach
I had no
social
idea.
roles in addition. But it stems from kind of a warring history.
Yeah.
You know, you compete for resources across these mile-long stickball courts. And it could be really aggressive. The modern game, of course, has rules and guidelines to it. So
Sure.
people don't get hurt, just like modern
It's
day
nice to
football
know where it
does.
started. It's nice to know where it started, though.
But that's the origins of lacrosse.
It's just
Right?
fascinating.
Stickball. So yeah, there's
You
a
know,
lot
you
of
don't
cool stuff
think
in it.
about this.
Okay, I want to go ahead. I've got this other question that I swear I'm good. After that, everything else is bonus, Johnny. So here's
Well, it's your
my
birthday.
yeah, it is my birthday. So I want to know. So why do people plan weddings, reunions, festivals, and even funerals around college football schedules? I already know the answer to the question.
You want
I,
people
but
to
I want
come.
your answer. And how does anthropology explain that kind of collective agreement without anybody? Nobody talks about this out loud. Please answer the question.
I honestly, I think you want people to come to your major events, and these are other major events in society, right?
That's
they
correct.
matter to people, and so you always see the guy with the phone and the ear, you know, if he has to go to a wedding during a big game, that kind of trope. But no, I think it's just the things we value in society, and us reflecting those values through our planning. I mean,
That's
it's the
right.
same thing. I told you I've got an allele seminar coming up at the end of January 29th, if anybody wants to come. But you have to make sure it's not going to conflict with any games, especially in the fall with football. Those are can't miss events. So.
That's right. If this is part of your shared identity, and this is something that people use to like assimilate, right, into the community. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Everyone has kind of already agreed to it then,
Right.
Yeah,
even before.
I'm wondering out loud, and I don't know how to ask this question probably, but I'm thinking there's such a variety of sports. And, you know, football seems to be king, obviously, in the South because it is the king. But the other sports all have different aspects to them. Like baseball is a little bit more laid back, I'll
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
But then you go to things like rugby,
Mhm.
WWE, which is not really a sport. Well, I guess it is. These are athletes.
Technically, yeah.
You know, people get so intense at different levels.
Right.
My question is, does the same threads of, I'm calling it DNA as for lack of a better term, the same threads run through all sports in common? Are there some common threads?
That's one of the things we talked about in class, actually, the kind of sports that you play individually versus in teams. Also, one of the things that predicts which sports you're interested in, if you think about regions of the country and the available resources for sports. So the baseball's history, it maps onto the agricultural needs, right? And so when you could, the I'll never go back, right? That's the baseball has no time limits. And so it's kind of those long days when you could spend the day playing baseball out, abandoning your agricultural duties for a minute to live in the moment. Now baseball, of course, has tried to put some timelines to keep it from being an overly long game. But there's in urban areas, there's less space for something like football. So we have a lot more basketball being pushed and promoted because there's more, it's easy to put up a basketball.
Sure,
but
that
it's hard
makes
to build a
sense.
soccer field.
I never thought about that
So
way. Yeah.
sometimes it's what the area has access to. Sometimes it's the long history of a sport in an area. There's all sorts of things that might predict which sports people invest in. But I think your point about, you know, our this kind of being ingrained in our DNA, we care about sports no matter what kind they are. And that another thing we've talked about is media and women's sports. Forever it was, oh, no one will watch women's sports, so we can't afford to put them on TV. And then once women's basketball took off and they put it on TV, huge viewership. People do care. So there's a balance between what we have access to and, you know, what is controlled by others, sort of thing.
Yeah,
So, or the environment, let's say.
Makes sense.
Maybe we should talk about women's basketball more on the radio, Johnny, right?
And women's softball too.
Yep.
And
Women's
our soccer
softball
team
is-
did
is,
pretty great last year.
Women's softball. is
That's
a big
already
deal.
big. It's already big and real.
And then there's hockey where you have a fight and people come watch the game.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
And my
Combat
mom used to say, if there's no blood, has it even been a game? 'Cause
Yeah.
she grew up in New England.
so
Big hockey
combat
fan.
is part of the DNA.
Right. But the hockey is like a whole other level of violence.
It is, Courtney.
and
I went to school at
aggression.
UAH, and at that time it was known as the hockey capital of the
Yeah.
South. But we do need to
We do
segue
need
to
take a
break.
Yes.
Guys, we will be back with Dr. Courtney Helfrecht, and you've been listening to the Noon Show on FM 100.1. Don't go away. We will be right back.
I warned you I'm a talker. I'm sorry.
No, no,
Just flag me down.
No, you're
not.
perfect.
That's what
No,
I-
you're the perfect guest.
No, you're perfect.
You're
Yeah.
you're perfect.
You're-
No, you said something about an Allele conference. Let's
Oh, yeah.
let's promote that. What is it?
Dr. Nicole Hess from Washington State University. She's the one who does the gossip as a resource to compete, or using gossip to compete for resources.
And when is this happening?
Thursday, January 29th.
Oh, that's coming up.
It is at
2
7:30
weeks
p.m.
We'll let
in
you
North
we'll let
Hall.
you run with it
Okay.
and promote it. Give them all the deets. Yeah.
And it's-
No, I was
Title
there's certain little
says that.
things I wanted to get asked.
Oh.
Sorry, no, I'm just reimagining. I mean, hi, but I'm like, I'm okay. Everything else is just bonus now.
Y'all have
I just had to get it out,
fantastic
Johnny.
Well, it's. I mean, sports is huge
It is.
business.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm more and more interested in it the longer we're next to these fellas because they are great guys.
I mean, we also start trying to hook. I mean, we want our kids to play sports for their health and well-being, but it's also getting them to identify with a team, a professional team.
Yes.
That's marketing is big into it
Oh, it's
because it's a
huge.
cash cow.
Well, see,
Right? I mean, it's a
See, I'm
multi-billion dollar industry.
as Lisa knows, I'm gonna come from an economic thing.
Yeah.
It's the economics of it are mind blowing.
Right.
Matter of fact, actually it scares me. It's got
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but
Well, the
these-
NIL and trade
NIL
portals.
multi-billion-dollar stadiums. How do you pay for those things?
Well, you pass it on
Oh.
in student fees. That's the big part.
Well,
I hate to say, but
But
that's thankfully Alabama is financially in the black, but a lot of other
well,
teams are not.
that
So
wasn't a year ago.
yeah, well,
They actually were in the red a year ago.
that is very so.
I'm sorry,
But
guys,
compared to
you're not
most
going to.
Oh,
teams,
yeah.
that
This
are,
is the value of University of Alabama
Yeah.
athletics is $1.6 billion. That's the value put on it to the top 10 in
the
the country.
highest paid person in every state is either a
Athletic-
football or
Athletic
basketball
director and the head
coach.
coach.
Every single state
Yeah.
in the country. It's
And
wild.
but then again, you look at the economics of it.
Yeah.
7 weekends a year.
Yeah.
That's $35 to $50 million a weekend impact.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Yeah.
It's $100+ million industry.
Yeah, and that's I'm
7
glad
weekends.
these kids are getting paid, but I wish there were some limits on their
I saw where
ability
Ty-
to move around.
I saw where Ty Simpson got offered
Heard that.
$6.5 million to stay in college by Miami.
I heard, what's our senator,
Ken Britt,
Tuberville
Tuberville.
on the news talking about addressing that. Yeah, this morning.
Welcome back to the news
Hey.
show right on here on FM 100.1. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of our noon show gang, and we hope you're having a good time. Fascinating conversation. Don't forget, folks, now we download every show to our podcast, so you can go back and pick up any podcast, any show, pretty much anytime. And you can go to any podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Catfish 100's website, all those different places. And you can go back and listen to our shows. And
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to re-listen to them. You find out some information you missed maybe.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a great way to catch up. So we encourage you to do that. And we also want to thank one of our wonderful sponsors, our good friend Ken DeWitt.
Yeah, shout out to
And
Ken.
Ken is a fabulous business coach, been doing this for a long, long time, has served so many companies around the community, the state, and throughout the South. And so if you're a business, maybe in the 10 to 250 employee size, that kind of small to medium size, Ken is just so effective working with you and your team. And he uses what's called the EOS system,
He does.
which is the entrepreneurial operating system, if I can get that out. And basically, it's a process that he works with you to help you get traction, to meet your goals, to be more productive, be more effective, maybe address some challenges that you're having. Maybe you've kind of lost track of your goals and your vision. And he helps you stay back and put you back on track. So check him out. Easy to do. And it's a great website, by the way. Lots of good information. eosworldwide.com/Ken-DeWitt. So check out Ken. He works
Yeah.
with Lisa and I, and he's one of the most effective business coaches. And he can work with you and your team to make you even more, guess what? Profitable.
That's right.
And that's kind of the bottom line, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's get back to this fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
And Courtney, we were talking a little bit about the economics of it. And, we were talking about these multi-billion-dollar stadiums that are being built today. And here in Tuscaloosa, it's $100 to $200 million, depending on the numbers.
The last renovation was $90 million. Just so you
It's
know.
an economic,
That's just a renovation.
Wow.
7 weekends a year, it's $100 million industry, if not more.
Mm.
And how does the economics play into the anthropology of sports? How does it play into that?
Well, like we were talking about before with what people are shown, right? That's one component of it. But I think, it's shapes a lot of how we experience the whole event, right? What parts of it we value are, sometimes dictated to us and sometimes we demand them. But it also the impacts are they spread everywhere in terms of what it brings to our community and also the athletes themselves.
Sure.
And that's been fascinating with the NIL and the portal, all those sorts of issues. As we know, that was what brought Saban and other coaches to choose to walk away.
Yeah, well, there's money, but then as I say, there's personal currency.
Right.
And I heard you say the word value. So speaking of that, Nick Saban built a dynasty. But from a cultural standpoint, is Alabama football more about wins or about identity? And how do sports teams become symbols of who we are?
Ooh, good question.
So Nick Saban is our most recent of the dynasty builders, right? But Bear Bryant also played a massive role. We've had several incredible coaches who have built dynasties here at Alabama. So I think it's Alabama football itself that's the true dynasty.
And you're saying the identity more so than the
But
wins.
yeah, well, and so as we talked about before, there's
You wear that stuff with pride. Your hats, your shirts, all that
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
So your identity is even stronger than your fandom of a sport in general.
And
right?
that's
You
where
might
the
love
value
football, but
comes.
you love Alabama.
The personal value,
Yes.
like personal currency. That's where you think it comes
Yeah.
from. Okay.
Yeah. And like we said before, it helps you identify people who feel the same way as you about this team. And you may have nothing else in common, but you have this, and it's a way to kick off.
And
a
they're immediately
relationship.
part of your posse.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
You're
like
making
that.
an interesting point because here's a little history story real quick. Dr. George Denny built the university. When he was president. It went from little or nothing to over 5,000 students quickly.
Yeah.
And he built it around, guess what? Football.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He brought football to Alabama.
I have just
out
been
of the
schooled.
north, and using football, he grew the university multiple times and really set the tone for, quote, the Alabama dynasty.
And it's continued, right?
Yeah.
And when Bear Bryant came on, he said, I need to have complete control, right? He
Mhm.
wanted to be that separate even from the athletic director in terms of his control.
Well, he
over
was
the
the
He
game.
became the
But
AD.
yeah. But yeah, so it's been interesting if you look at the surge of applications we get when we have a title run and a national championship itself. We get tons more applications.
That
to the
makes sense. I
university.
never thought about
So
that.
it's circling
though.
back to that. We all want to be part of a championship school, right? A championship team. And so it connects what we were talking about before with your identity and your love for Alabama football or Alabama basketball or women's soccer, whatever your sport may be. But it's the team itself. It's Alabama itself.
I've got a pretty general question that you just kind of stimulated. Within our DNA, and I'm using that term really loosely, obviously, but this whole idea of sports and how it stimulates us. Talk to me briefly about, do we all want to be winners?
Sure, winning comes
Do we
with
really want to
resources.
be winners?
Well, we want to be associated with winners, right? Because if you think about, so with groups, primate groups, human groups, the smallest size is determined by protection, right? Our safety, our ability to resist others coming
That
in.
makes a lot of
The
sense to
largest
me, yeah.
groups generally determined by resources, right? How much?
Kind of like a survival thing.
Exactly.
To be
yeah.
associated with the
if
winners,
you're,
right?
if you're
Survival
in a,
instinct, I mean.
right. Well, and so you need to be able to capture resources, and we do a lot of social resource capture with hunting. Is usually, sometimes it's a solo thing, but nobody can eat a whole deer by itself, by themselves. So you share it with folks. And if you're hunting, like hunter gatherers usually hunt in groups, and so then they divide up whatever if they're successful, they divide up whatever they've gotten for the day. And so we have, I think I spoke before. So the smallest is determined by your safety, the largest by your resource access. Now, really good hunters can, they command some status, right? And you want to be associated with those really good hunters because that allows you access to resources and survival. So, the ability to hunt is also the ability to protect oftentimes.
And it's all tied into
So-
survival.
Yeah. And
Right.
so
That's
our,
right.
our appreciation of athletics in general comes from, this
very
is
instinctual.
99% of human history. We were hunter and gatherers. And there are still some hunter gatherers.
It's
today,
very
but-
instinctual, right?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I mean, the way we live today is extremely recent in human history. So the appreciation for athleticism and resource acquisition goes deep.
So here's the thing. Here's a little bit of a bomb. What if football didn't exist? Do you think Alabama would have invented something else
Absolutely.
to play the same cultural role that it plays today?
I do.
Heck to the yeah, she says. Heck to the yeah.
I mean, again, it would probably be soccer, honestly, given
Well,
how
we've been kicking a ball
globally
and
popular
throwing a ball
that is, yeah.
since man began.
right.
you
I mean,
know.
and if you look, kids will make toys out of anything. There'll be huge vines in a rainforest. They'll tie them together and make a swing, right? I mean, anything that we can turn into a game and to play. And then we put rules on it. That's what makes it a game, because there's rules and everybody
Got
knows
some
the
boundaries
rules.
to work
Yeah.
with, and
That's the difference between just play and a game.
this is absolutely fascinating. You got to come back and visit. You were talking another thing
Y'all,
about,
this is just one of her classes.
going back a little bit. We're talking about, does everybody want to be a winner? I'm not sure that's a true statement.
Right.
I think people like to be associated with success,
Yeah.
but the other side of that is a whole different conversation about, are you willing to invest in what's
Exactly.
needed
Yeah.
to be successful? That's
Right.
that's kind of a Sabanism, I would guess.
Well, no, I mean, and it bears out, right? The people who work the hardest, who are willing to put in the time, who have the mental fortitude when the cracks kind of show in our fandom, those are the guys who are going to be most successful. So you could have all the athletic talent, but if you don't have the work ethic or just the motivation to do it,
Bear Bryant
You're not
himself
gonna be
said
it.
winning is an attitude.
yeah.
And
sometimes
there's so many
talent too.
so many elements to this.
I mean, I ran cross country in high school, and I'm tall and long legged, and so it should have been pretty fast. But there was one girl; she had to be 8 inches shorter than me. So by just your physical standards, I had a huge advantage just in stride length. But she wanted it, and I did cross country because I needed a fall sport, and I did it before I found swimming. She wanted it; she loved it. She put in the work, and she was better than me.
I know it sounds like heresy around here these days, but that's what I think cuts Indiana away from everybody this year.
They put in the work.
They
To
just
pull together
want
as a team
They
with
do.
all new kids on
They
there, to pull
want it.
together as a team
Oh,
like
yeah.
they did, it's been incredible.
Well, Courtney, this has been
Thank you so
fascinating.
much for coming
Thank
to
you
see
so
us.
much.
You got to come
Really?
back and see us.
We gotta book you back on the show before you leave, I think.
I want to go to her class.
Absolutely.
Y'all are welcome anytime.
Please, please.
I want to go listen.
I swear it won't be disruptive unless you want participation.
I love
Yeah.
participation. We met discussion every Thursday.
I read the syllabus. It's 40% of the grade. Okay, I've completely run us out of time now. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, but let me tell you who's coming on the show tomorrow. That would be the brand new mayor of Northport, Dale Phillips. So you're not going to want to miss that.
That's going to be fun.
And we had a great conversation
we
with
did.
him last week.
Oh,
It was
what a great guy.
fabulous to meet him. Looking forward to that. But before we go, I want to remind everyone, don't forget to spay or neuter your furry friends and keep those tails wagging with up-to-date vaccinations. This is Lisa Jones signing off for the Noon Show. But before we go, I'd like to wish everyone a splendiferous rest of their day. See you on the radio tomorrow.
Happy birthday, sunshine.
Woo! Thank you.